Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for Smokey and the Bandit. So this film just reached its 40th anniversary, which I got to see in the TCM Classic series, and it follows the story of Burt Reynolds, or I forget his character name, and it's basically a guy who does a lot of jobs driving around as fast as he can to get stuff back to people, and he's given a job to get a ton of Coors Light and bring it to the east side of Texas. So him and another guy embark on this wild adventure that takes them to crazy places. The plot in this film is very small. It's very minimal. This really is a film that doesn't really have much of a plot. It's really just Burt Reynolds driving around in a car, going to wild places, seeing wild things, doing crazy stuff, and that's basically the entire movie. And if you go into the movie expecting anything more than that, there's not really a reason to, because this movie, Smokey and the Bandit, it came out in the 70s. It was intentionally made just to be a crazy, fun, weird time. And I think that this would actually be a great way to show some people that aren't necessarily cinephiles or huge film fans what cinema was like pre-Star Wars. Because Star Wars, when it came out just, I believe, a few months later after Smokey and the Bandit, it changed cinema forever. And to show people what was considered like fun popcorn flicks back in the day before Star Wars, before it became about big blockbusters, I think that this would be a great example. I have a history with this film. My father saw this film over 70 times in theaters when he was a kid. He would just go 3 to 4 times a day because he had nothing better to do in the summer. So he just went into the theater and watched it over and over and over again. So naturally, when it came to when I heard that it was TCM was showing it, I got excited because I like to see movies like this with my dad, movies that he loved as a child, and I can go back with him and I can tell that he's just having a great time because he's reliving his childhood, and I get to sort of take a view into what his childhood was like. So I was excited to see it. I had seen it on DVD before a couple times, but I hadn't really remembered it. So really, I was just kind of excited to go in seeing this. And coming out, I just had a fun time with Smokey and the Bandit. I didn't expect anything more. It's just a fun movie, and there's really not much else to it. If you go into this film expecting a deep narrative with complex themes, you're going to be disappointed, because this movie was made with the intention of just being fun. Just irreverent humor, quippy dialogue, and lots of fun, and thankfully it masters most of those. The irreverence in this film is actually very, very well done, because it's not completely bashful, and it's not completely shaming to what it's being reverent to, and at the same time, you can just tell that it's kind of being offensive, and it's entertaining in the way that it's like that. And the dialogue is very quippy, snappy, and just very well written. A lot of lines in this film are very memorable, not because they're profound lines that have a lot of meaning behind them, but just because they're really quippy, and they're really quick, and they're really fun. And that's basically how I would sum up this entire movie. Of course, it has its issues. It is lazy quite often. There are a lot of scenes that you just sort of feel like, hey, this movie could have gone a bit further than that, particularly some dubbing. The dubbing definitely could have been improved in this film, because it's randomly placed in certain places. It's not necessarily like a big standout, but the dubbing is actually really incompetent. And I was actually taken out of the movie a couple times just because I could clearly tell that they had dubbed over it, because they wouldn't show a character's face, or it didn't even look like a character was talking at all. You could tell that they were just sort of standing there without their mouth moving, and yet they put lines of dialogue over it. And also, the movie is a bit long in the tooth. It goes on for probably longer than it should. They probably could have cut out like 10 or 15 minutes to keep the pace consistent throughout the entire movie, but what kind of problems are those? Those aren't really a big deal, because this movie is just fun. That's all it's meant to be. Something that it does really well is the acting. Burt Reynolds is great as this character. He's an iconic character because of Burt Reynolds. He embodies the character. He plays him so well. He probably saw a lot of him inside that character and just wanted to play it fully. But also Sally Field and a lot of the other actors in this film are very, very good. That's something that actually sort of makes Smokey and the Bandit stand out from the pre-Star Wars popcorn flicks. The acting in it is actually very, very good. And the chemistry among the cast is really, really good. I actually learned at the screening at TCM that Burt Reynolds and Sally Field had actually started dating halfway through production. And that makes a lot of sense because their chemistry is very, very good. Now, they did have a bit of an issue developing the relationship. I would say that at the end of the movie, it is fully developed and you get a feel of their dynamic and what they have going on. But there's a certain choice, I don't want to spoil it, but Sally Field makes a certain choice towards about maybe a little before the middle middle of the movie that I feel like they could have developed the relationship a bit more to make that choice more believable. But besides that, the chemistry among the cast was just really good, whether it just be the anger showed by the policeman, or the friendliness that Burt Reynolds and the other guy had, or the romance between Sally Field and Burt Reynolds. All of it was just very, very good. So to conclude, Smokey and the Bandit isn't a standout movie. It's not exceptional. It's not memorable per se. It's just a really fun time at the theater or at home. Just if you ever have like 90 minutes to kill and you have nothing else to do, I would recommend watching this movie because it's just fun for what it is. And for that reason, I'll give Smokey and the Bandit a 7 out of 10. My next TCM review should be The Godfather, and shortly followed a week after Some Like It Hot. Those are two of my favorite films of all time, so I'm really excited to review those. I love reviewing TCM films. Just being able to review classics that I don't normally get to touch on when reviewing modern day films. But anyway, that concludes my review. What are your thoughts on Smokey and the Bandit? Comment in the comment section below, and let me know. I'm Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.